Yo, what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic indie creator interview. It's your Cape Crusader Code, and we're keeping it geekly with our new guest, Dave Cook. We're here to break down Killtopia, Volume 1 through 5, and everything in between. Welcome to the stream, Dave. How are you doing, man?
Hey, yeah, I'm good. Hello from Scotland. Yeah, I'm doing well. I've spent all of today actually making up packages for Killtopia 5's Kickstarter for when it ships from 9:30 until literally before starting this cast.
Oh, so I've been, goodness.
Been busy doing all that.
Yeah, I was about to ask. We're coming hot off the press from the Kickstarter for Volume 5. How'd that end up going for you?
Yeah, really well. Like I sort of knew, without being sort of egotistical, but I knew that like just because I've been doing Kickstarter since 2014, and I knew that I know that a lot of people are like repeat customers, like people will keep coming back for the other ones. So I was always confident that we would get Killtopia 5 funded, but we got a record amount on that. I think we were almost at 26k on that in pounds. I think it was like about just over 1,000 backers. So yeah, it was really cool. I was kind of blown away by it, and I think a lot of people were sending me messages over Twitter and stuff at the time saying, "Can't believe this is the last one. I'm really sad about it." And I'm like, well,
that's how you know, right? That's that's how you know you got something good, and maybe you need to do something that comes off of that, right?
I'm always thinking about ways to sort of expand it, because my whole philosophy when I was writing Killtopia was like the world itself of Neo Tokyo had to feel like a character in its own right. It had to feel like kind of lived in place with like all these little different areas and bits of the society. And it's so ripe, I think, for like offshoots and spin-offs and things like that. So I'm always thinking about kind of what we can do next with it.
I love that. So, I mean, previous history, we have you down for Ninja, Baseball Spirits, Bust, Deadliner, and of course that video game history book we were talking. Like, how'd you get involved with this? You have such an awesome history, an awesome, line of books behind you. Where did it all begin for you?
Yeah, it sort of began. I mean, I've always been interested in writing, even since like what we call primary school here. So that's like anything up to like I think age 10, I think, or 12 here in the UK, and I was never like a maths guy in school. I hated it, and I always considered myself more of a words guy, like numbers and stuff. I don't care. I just want to write and make stuff, But my biggest dream when I was in school, even like high school, was like I want to be a video game journalist because I was mad on games. I loved it, and that's what I eventually ended up doing in like 2010, 2009, round about that sort of time. I sort of became a writer for hire. Then I got a full-time gig working in England as a games journalist, and it just sort of came from there. I even now I'm more influenced in my comics from video games than other comics, if that makes sense. I'm always seeing things that I thought, that would be a cool idea, maybe with a little spin on it. But it just came from basically I used to work for like a gaming website that's called VG247. I was like their deputy editor, and
okay, yeah,
it was a very quick, like rapid-fire news website with like short articles, and the news cycle goes so fast, online. And I was like, I want to write something that actually lasts. So I tried writing a novel that failed. It's terrible. I still have the final draft of it. Long story short, I wasn't good at describing things like characters and places and sensations and atmospheres in the room and stuff like that. So I thought, I'm just going to get an artist to draw these things instead of me describing them. So getting the comics came from sheer laziness. But that's how Bust got started. That was my very first series, and I did the first one on Kickstarter back in 2014. Really early days for Kickstarter. It made just over $1,000, and then people were like, "Hey, when's the next one coming?" And for me, it was always a one shot. Right, it was never meant to be a career. And that just like this light bulb went off. I'm like, "Oh yeah, I could do more." And just keep on growing the fan base.
You can do more than just one of these?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was going to take. I thought I just wanted to do it for me. Like to say I'd done it. And then I did my very first Comic Con in Glasgow, which is like 40 minutes down the road from where I am in Edinburgh. And I shared like half a table with a friend. I sort of like crashed on their table and just kind of like had my one book, and it was, loads of people got in touch after and said, "Hey, like this is cool. When are you going to do some more or what?"
That's so cool.
So it really is like, I really appreciate like kind of people getting in touch with me, and a lot of the people were my friends already, but they just say, "Oh, you should maybe think about doing more of these." And they kind of helped me get the confidence to do it, I guess. And then many years later, here we are.
Yeah, when you said you had trouble, describing the room, when I was reading Killtopia, I was just so taken back by how like full the world is. Like I spent it almost like is an injustice to read through it once. You have to read through it multiple times just to really fully soak in just how like lived in this world is. Like the attention to detail and like all these character designs. We have the cyberpunk influences. It's just they're just so out of this world. I mean, it's outrageous almost. You said you had that failed novel just because you couldn't describe. Like, how does this relationship work between you and the artist at Killtopia?
Well, I suppose I just got better at it. I actually decided to because I think the comic writing process actually forced me to get better at it, right? Mm-hmm. Because people who don't know comics, right, they ask me how do I write them, and I know that you'll know this, but it kind of amazes me that whenever I say you kind of need to write like a director, right? You need to say this angle, we're looking at the panel from this angle or this perspective. The characters are in these poses, and this is the kind of atmosphere in the room. This is what's happening in the background. Like all this descriptive stuff. So those early comics just forced me to get better at it. And from there, I think it just grew and grew. But again, for me, like the world of Neo Tokyo in Killtopia had to feel like a character. And we didn't want to do, like at the time, we're talking back in 2020, I think we started this one 2015, 2016. Initially, the idea started to take shape. But back then, we said early on, me and the artist Craig, we said like, we don't want this to be like the stereotypical cyberpunk, so noir, trench coats, rain against neon signs and stuff like that. So let's just go nuts and invert the color palette and just make it all vivid and crazy and psychedelic. And it just, I think that's what gave it its identity. And we always said, let's make this first issue, Killtopia 1. Let's make this as if it's our only chance to ever pitch anything ever again. So we put so much time and effort into it, and the publisher eventually, BHP, they came to us instead of us pitching to them, which is wild. So they saw how the Kickstarter did, and they were like, "Yeah, let's talk." So it's just thinking back on how it all happened. It's just wild to me still, just how it all. Some of it's luck, some of it's hard work. Mm-hmm. It's a mix of both. You never know.
Speaking of how that Kickstarter did, I mean, £110,000, like that is insane for across 5 different Kickstarters for this. Like, shoo, you are like a Kickstarter whiz at this point, right?
Yeah, I've written an ebook guide for it on Gumroad. It's free. Like, it's a 2021 edition, so Kickstarter's changed some things about how it works since then. But there's a link to it, like on my link tree on my profile, on my Twitter profile. It's totally free, so you can check it out. But I think a big part of it comes from, I used to, so when I left games journalism, around the same time I started writing comics, I moved back to Scotland. I got a job in digital marketing, in content marketing, and I started to really figure out kind of how the marketing dark arts kind of work, search engine optimization, writing campaign pages that are quick and punchy and just really get the point across quick, and paid ads on Facebook and things like that. Although they're not that good anymore. I don't use them anymore. They've kind of fallen off. But just all these little tips. It's just mad how all these experiences and all this like work experience I've had is just coalesced into comics. It's just, and really helped me sort of push the boat out and make it bigger. It's wild, I
was gonna say it was like a perfect fit when the digital marketing, like that is like the perfect job for doing this. A lot of people don't realize like, making comics is like a 2-bit thing. You create the comic, then you have to market the comic. And that marketing is almost just as important as creating the comic, it feels.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's funny how many, to use that old term, how many hats comic people wear. Not even just writers. I mean, everyone involved in the process has to do all these different roles, So for me, it's like, as the writer, it's finding the artist, making sure everyone gets paid their going rate. Where does the money come from? Shipping, marketing, everything. It can be, I'll be honest, it can be a bit much sometimes. But I think post Killtopia, I'm going to start maybe not moving away from Kickstarter entirely, but trying to pitch more. To try and take that burden off of me and put it on to someone else. Because it's Killtopia has been going for like 5 years, over if you count how long it took us to actually produce the first book and make the work. So I think it's time to maybe take the foot off the gas for a little bit. But this is addictive, so I'll probably not do that.
I could totally get that too. Like once you start and once you like start killing it, it's like I can't stop. Like this is like fire. I got to keep pouring gasoline on this. And every page of this is so gorgeous. It feels like I could rip it out and enlarge it as a poster on the wall. Can we talk about the creative team involved? I mean, this book is gorgeous.
Yeah, so the original creative team was myself and Craig Payton. He's my friend from Glasgow. He stopped working on the book after the second one, but he's still kind of involved. He does like guest prints for us, and things like that. And he does the Comic Cons and circuit as well, things like that. So, yeah, so me and Craig just met. I think it was through a friend's recommendation, and it just so happened. Oh no, actually, tell a lie. He did the covers for Bust 1 to 3. That's how we met. Somebody recommended him for Bust, and those covers are really hyper realistic looking. They look nothing like Killtopia. So we got talking about this idea, and he was like, "Oh yeah, actually, my primary art style is like the fine lines, the Jeff Darrow, Mobius, that sort of, Frank Quietly, all that kind of thing." And I'm like, it's so different from the covers he did for Bust, but he was like, sent me some samples, and straight away we were like, "Yeah, this is it. You nailed it." But the current team is Clark Bint on art and Lou Ashworth on colors, with Micah Myers on lettering. I just found Clark just through a sort of open, classified on Twitter, like, "Hey, I'm looking for a new Killtopia artist." Craig's stepping aside from the project. He sent me some samples, and again, I was just like, "Yep, yeah." But we work. I mean, right now, the current team, we work so well together. It's kind of like, I'm not precious about my scripts, like I don't think any writer should be, within reason. If the artist comes in and completely changes everything, so it's nothing like what you wrote in the script, then I think you should have a conversation about that. But when it comes to Clark, he always says, "Hey, this panel here, I think this would look better. Here's like a lo-fi thumbnail." And I'm like, every time he nails it, I'm like, "Yeah, you've made my script so much better. So please do whatever you want." But I think over the last three issues, me and Clark just have so much trust for each other. And now on issue 5, he's just like, "I'm thinking about this." I'm like, "I don't need to see it. Just do it. I know it's going to
just do it."
Yeah.
Everything is so intricate
so well with,
too.
like BHP as well, like our publisher. They're kind of like a bit like Image in that, like, we fund everything on Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
They do all the distribution, all the other stuff, but they get us into like comic stores and also they're quite big on the book festival circuit. So they're really getting into like proper literature festivals. So not comic cons, but actual novelists and things like that. Where certainly in the UK, you're seeing a lot of crossover now. They're wanting more comic book presence there. So for example, I'm speaking at, there's a big festival here in Edinburgh called The Fringe every year. Biggest event in Scotland every year.
Mm-hmm.
And they also run a book festival, which is again traditionally just novels, but they asked if I could do a speaker panel about Killtopia and sell the new book there and stuff. So it's just like quite good, working with BHP to get that new audience that maybe weren't aware kind of how good quality comics are now. Well, they always have been, but I think there was always this perception they weren't real books. But that's certainly in Scotland, that's definitely changing now. So yeah, they're a really good publisher to work with.
That's so remarkable. Congratulations. I'm so excited about this. We're going to talk about this getting turned into an animated plot as well. But before we do that, give us a little bit about what Killtopia is. I mean, we talked a little bit about what went into it, but I mean, this is one hell of a read. Give us a little taste of the world.
Yeah, so Killtopia takes place in Neo Tokyo in some nondescript future. But it's not like hard sci-fi. It's definitely grimy cyberpunk. Final Fantasy VII was a big influence, so the world of Neo Tokyo has that kind of lived-in feel. It's kind of fallen apart at the seams, pollution, stuff like that. But one day, 10 years before the first issue even begins, Neo Tokyo was invaded by killer robots that are called Mecha. And these Mecha terrorize the city. They basically nest in this part of the city called Sector K. And rather than fix the problem in Sector K, the Japanese government rebrands it as Killtopia and invites anyone from around the world to come to Neo Tokyo to hunt the Mechs for fame, money, and fortune, like a bloodsport. But unknown to the government at the time, the Mechs are giving off these nanomachines that are killing everyone slowly on the planet. It basically creates a disease called the rot, which is uncurable. And it's created this kind of like weird sort of, it was actually kind of a reflection on the American healthcare system and the UK, because our government's trying to turn our free healthcare system into a paid one, and that's terrifying because we've never had a paid system here, right? So that's actually what triggered the whole Killtopia idea. Was everyone's dying in Neo Tokyo of this disease. People will do desperate things to get enough money to buy meds to like ease their pain or cure their, ease the pain of their loved ones. And our main character is a rookie mech hunter called Shinji, who hunts in the Killtopia hunting grounds. He fights mechs with janky technology, like he's not very well trained, like kind of a loser. But he risks his life to hunt mechs to get money for his sister's medical care because she has the rot. Then he meets this mech called Crash, who has he's sentient. He also has the cure for the rot inside his system. So the two of them team up together to heal the planet, while every other bounty hunter, Yakuza gang, ninja assassin, android killer, you name it, are trying to kill them and get the big bounty on their heads. So yeah, loads of inspirations from Akira to Battle Royale, video game wise. It's things like No More Heroes, Bayonetta mostly for the tone, that kind of brash, like F you kind of tone that everyone has. And yeah, so that's it. It's kind of just starts off like that, this quest to cure the planet of this disease, but turns into something much, much bigger. So yeah.
I love all the designs in there. I could have sworn I seen a nod to Ash from Pokemon, and I think Volume 2, the dude's wearing like a blue vest with like a hat, like it's a red cap.
There's so many Easter eggs in there, and a lot of them have been added in without me even knowing it. So I'll find things later, like, oh my god. So the fun fact about that character, Ash was a big inspiration, but his hat says Bogard on it, and it's a tribute to Fatal Fury. Terry Bogard. So it's kind of a mashup of Ash and him together. It's kind of weird, but yeah, there's so many references to the things I love in there.
I'm trying to think too, and I might be off on this. King Kaiju, his mech suit. It's awesome. I love the designs. I love like the little smile in the middle, like the little the tags on the suit itself. It's awesome. I just love everything about this book. All these designs, like, is that a collaboration between you and the artist? Did you have an idea of how you wanted these things to look beforehand? Like, how did this work?
Yeah, so all the character look and feel, those kind of like major like character traits and stuff are all kind of me, but there's iteration as well, like speaking with the artist, you get some designs back, you tweak some things, so definitely a collaborative process. But I think it kind of, these weird things just pop into my brain for some reason. I don't know why. Because I thought because initially King Kaiju was supposed to be a lot more like janky looking, a lot more kind of goblin like missing teeth, because he's basically been force fed cola that has like battle enhancing nanomachines in it through tubes and stuff. But we kind of made him look a little bit more less disgusting because he was supposed to be like really horrible before. But and I think I mean a lot of it does come from video games as well. Again, like I'm such a big gamer, and originally the character of Blaze, the hacker, like Shinji's ex-girlfriend, she wears this like augmented glove. It was supposed to be originally like a Nintendo Power Glove, but Nintendo are like so litigious. I know it's so silly; they probably would never have seen it, but we just thought, let's not do that.
It's Nintendo's the one that you don't want to mess with. Nintendo and Disney, pretty much.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm trying to think of other examples. I mean, like, there's so many characters in there that, like, I mean, like Stiletto. Stiletto originally, my elevator pitch for her was like cyberpunk Catwoman. Because initially she was going to be Shinji's love interest, like way back in an early draft. She was going to be an anti-hero, and they kind of were opposing each other, but they also kind of liked each other. And I thought, nah, that's kind of cliche. So that kind of changed, and she became more of like the embodiment of like corporate greed and like influencer like egotism and cult fan base followings and stuff like that. Like the big extremes of all that stuff, right? And I thought, okay, that's a much better place for her to go on like a hero's kind of journey. And sort of now at Killtopia 5, she's completely the inverse now. She's fighting for the people. She's not bothered about money anymore. She's just trying to do the right thing and make amends for her bad past and whatnot. So I will say as well, like I wrote all these scripts issue to issue. I already knew the ending. I think every writer, when you come up with a new comic story, definitely think of the ending straight away, because it gives you that North Star to kind of point towards. But the meat of each issue, I sort of wrote issue to issue, and so many things changed throughout. I was going to have a big battle scene on a bullet train, at one point, which isn't in the series, where everyone was wearing like magnetic boots to like stand on it while it's hurtling
Dude,
around the track.
yes. Oh man, that's
Yeah,
so cool.
I might bring it back in like another side project maybe, but it just didn't fit. I had to like cut my losses and just say, this is a cool idea, but it doesn't actually serve the story at this point, so I just got rid of it. And there's a lot of other ideas that are kind of in my sidebar, I guess, that I can maybe use in future, but it was definitely an evolving thing. And not everyone I worked with on it has definitely been like so instrumental to it. So yeah, I can't thank them enough for taking this journey with me.
Yeah, absolutely. So everyone that is watching, we're going to drop 2 links. So let's go ahead. This is a link to Dave's Substack where you can stay up to date with what he's doing. This also counts as, you said, a store for you as well?
So there's a store link in there, links to my big cartel, but you'll find links to like all my non-Killtopia books and my Killtopia books, and my video game books are in there too. So yeah. And that Substack's free as well. There is a paid tier, but that's like for comic tutorials and deeper dives and stuff. Yeah.
Okay, well, what do those comic tutorials look like? Just people interested in beginning on writing and stuff, or what sort of tools can people look forward to?
Oh yeah, so I do one a month. I've done the first one I think was writing effective panel descriptions. So making them basically a really good brief for your artist. Describing things properly, not putting too much clutter or too much dialogue in to obscure the art, and kind of rules of thumb like the 180 rule, right? When the perspective flips, making sure everything's kind of consistent and whatnot. The second one was writing characters, so my process, how I made like the Killtopia characters and whatnot. And the third one, I've actually forgotten what it was. That's really bad. But they're on there, and it's basically just like, my experiences since 2014 to present day, I guess, what I've learned, how my style has evolved and whatnot. So yeah, they're all on there.
And this is an award-winning series, so it's not like just anyone just writing this. I mean, this is coming from a man who knows what he's doing. And then right here is the link to the BHP store where you can buy all these books that we're talking about today as well. So let me drop that in all the chats. So, I mean, speaking of an award-winning series, this is also in production to be in an animated plot. Congratulations on that. How did that happen?
So it's the funniest thing, right? So back in 2019, I got an email from this guy called Charles, and just slid into my Instagram DMs, was like, "Hey, I want to talk about like potentially like licensing Killtopia for TV." And your first thought is, yeah, right, okay, because you get a lot of stuff like that on Instagram, like, "Hey, do you want to do a collab?" And it's all just kind of bots and stuff, right? So I didn't think anything of it, and then he got in touch again, like he found my email just through my socials and stuff. It was like, "Hey, I don't know if you probably didn't see my Instagram message, but and I was like, "Oh, this is real, right?"
Oh yeah, this is getting real.
Okay. Yeah, so I told my publisher, and yeah, we got talking, and the studio is called Voltaku. They're a startup in LA, so they're made up of people who've worked on things like Disney, video games, like people who've worked on like Battlefield, stuff like that. So it's all being done in real-time motion capture in Unreal Engine.
Oh, that's so cool.
Because they're a startup, they're still really early. Like it's going to take longer than I think shows will usually take to get to like pilot stage, just because they're still so early. They're building their company, they're staffing up, they're working on their tech. But they're kind of, they send me like little clips and stuff, and it's so cool because it's basically like people in motion capture suits rigged up to Unreal Engine avatars of all the characters, and they look amazing. Acting in real time, even down like the mouths and the facial movements is all accurate. It's really uncanny. But yeah, their plan is to do like a series 1 and I guess see what happens from there.
Dude.
So there's no time frame yet, but because they're just building their studio. COVID really set things back by a lot of time. I mean, nothing really happened during COVID just because nobody really wanted to change job during COVID or start a new company during COVID, that kind of thing, I guess. So yeah, but it's happening and it's being worked on right now, and it's just kind of still mind blowing.
Yeah, congratulations. That's big, man. That's big. So what happens? Like, do you retain the rights to the series, or like? And if that's a question you don't want to answer, feel free to skip over that.
Oh no, totally, because it's part of the the deal with BHP, because they're kind of like Image. Like I keep all the rights to everything.
Ooh, perfect.
So
perfect.
I guess we're kind of for anyone that doesn't know how this kind of thing works. The initial deal before the series actually gets made is called an option. So a studio will sign an option with a comic writer that basically says, we have exclusive rights to make this, and so nobody else can make their own adaptation of it. just gives them time to like come up with the idea, work on a pilot, that kind of thing, without anyone else like beating them to the punch kind of thing. But throughout all that process, you know, I'm going to keep all the rights and all that. And early on, actually, when they were sort of working on things like storyboards and like the character and the, because it's all done on virtual sets as well, you know, like they'll make like almost like a video game looking environment in Unreal, and that's your set, and the characters walk around in it, and it's there, and it's really mind blowing. But they got in touch with me and said, you know, okay, Shinji, what's his character like? What's his personality like? They had read the comics, of course, you know, but they wanted just to hear it from me. Like,
that's so
asking
cool,
me all these
man.
questions, you know, how would he act in this situation? How would he respond to this? And the world, right? So the first set they built was the Heap, which is, I think you see it in Killtopia 1. It's like the sort of a downtrodden district, which is kind of full of, it's kind of like the slums, I guess. There's a whole splash page, you might remember it, where it's like viewed from like a top-down angle, and it's like this big cityscape, and Shinji and Crash are like walking down it. So that's what they built. They built the Heap with all these little market stalls and like sort of scrapyard kind of look. And they asked me, what does this place feel like? You know, what's the atmosphere? And it's cool to be kind of included in all that, you know. And me and Craig, because we both came up with, I guess, you know, we worked on issue 1 and 2. We're like exec producers on the show, so we'll get like a little credit and stuff, which is like,
that's so cool.
mad. And I know.
How do you feel? Like, this has to be like a dream, right?
Oh yeah, totally. Because it's, I'm always of the mind that like I don't think anyone should ever do this, get into comics, right? Never expect that these things will happen. Just if it does happen, just treat it like a massive bonus. It's like, and that's how it still feels. It still feels like, and my friends always tell me like, well, you guys earned it. Like, don't be so you be humble, but don't be like, oh, why us? You know, why is this happening? Said, well, because you worked hard on the book and the book's good. Like, shut up. So I need my friends to give me that pep talk from time to time, because I'm notoriously bad for being down on my own work, like all the time. Even now, going back to Killtopia 1, there's things I would have changed, but I'm getting better at just letting it go. You know, it's done. It's in print. I can't change it. It's, you know, whatever.
Yeah, I wanted to ask that question because with the series being so good, I mean, there has to be more to it. I mean, are you doing anything else after, you know, Volume 5 with this world?
So I guess like immediately, we were going to do the omnibus like early next year, but we thought, nah, you know, let issue 5 breathe for a bit, and we'll maybe do it like towards the end of next year, because 5 will have just come out. People can buy the whole series anyway, but the omnibus will have like, you know, bonus bits and like extras and stuff like that. I'm very, very slowly working on an anthology as well. I was supposed to have started like the submission process now, but I'm too busy. I sort of thought, right, be sensible, push it back. So I think that might be the first Kickstarter I do next year, but watch this space. But all of the creators are sort of locked in. We've got like loads of great people signed up for it already. We just don't have their stories yet, and I'm not ready to be bombarded with like stories and art. I need some time off before I do that. But yeah, so I am working on a sequel to Killtopia. That's out there already. Kind of, I haven't shouted about it too loudly, but I have dropped it in here and there. But total sequel, totally different cast apart from one character who's returning, but I won't spoil who, because some people die in 5. I can definitely say that. I'm not going to say who. People are going to be annoyed at me, I think, after reading 5. But so the new cast are basically cops working in Neo Tokyo. We did the kind of hackers, the sort of grungy, like slum people from the slums, the sort of underdogs. Now we're looking at the cops. It's set 5 years later after the events of Killtopia 5, and the events of Killtopia 5 are directly influence what happens in the sequel. I won't say what, of course, but some stuff goes down. And this main character from the original arc is now like a cop for hire. So think of Uber for cops, right? Because here in the UK, and it's everywhere, but you know, I can only speak from my own sort of local experience, but here in the UK, like the gig economy is really bad. Like it's getting, you know, I hear from like my friends who have kids who are kind of like thinking about their first jobs and stuff, and they're like, you know, 0-hour contract, you know, gig economy. It's like really hard work for not that great pay. It's like, but it's tough, you know, it's hard to get work out there. And so I thought, you know, I'm going to do something around that. And so that's why the main character is like a rent-a-cop. So they get speedy bonuses if they catch the perp quickly. They lose money if they kill the perp by accident. You know, they're always like on call, that kind of thing. But basically the main plot is the villain is a hacker who can infiltrate people's brains and make them see their worst fears or actually control them like puppets. So the cops and our main character have to like go on the case and basically bring this serial killer down.
I love it.
A lot of it is also inspired by me like turning 40 in August, which I know is not old, but again, just from speaking to my friends, my friends are, I've got so many friends who are also turning 40 this year or next year, and it's not old, right? It's not old in the grand scheme of things. I'm not worried about it.
I'm turning 34 in August. I mean, come on, that's 6 years. Don't put me in a midlife crisis now.
No, I mean like 40. I guess it's just like I think of my parents when they were 40, and I thought they felt so much older than I do now when I was a kid, right? But a lot of Killtopia, speaking with my friends, we were kind of talking, just joking around, like talking like, oh, anything you would have done different? How different might your life have been if you did these different things? So the main character in Killtopia, they are just a small side character in the main arc, but I don't mind telling you, in the sequel, they used to be a wrecker, but they've retired. So now they're sort of thinking about, oh, what if I'd stuck with that? Well, I could have been the next Stiletto. I could have been like a big influencer right now, but I actually chose this other path of the law, and now I'm kind of earning crap pay. I'm trying to raise my family on like no money. And they start to get really resentful of their life and their family and like where they end up. Is it them thinking that, or has their brain also been hacked to make them turn into a really terrible person? So it becomes almost like a horror thing where they start to see vivid images of like their family dead, and then they look down and see a knife in their own hand, and they think, oh my God, if I snapped and like killed them because I'm so resentful of this family life, then they come to and they realize that they've actually just been hacked, and they're like, oh my God. So it becomes almost like a horror where you don't quite know what you're seeing is right, or if it's real, or if they're being manipulated. So it's kind of preying on your fears and fears of getting old, and so there's all this kind of thing. But that's all I'll say for now.
Killing your kid, like that is savage too. Like this sounds like like a psychological horror almost, right? Mm-hmm. Like, oh my God, I love it. I've
never seen a cyberpunk horror before, so I thought, yeah, that's what. And immediately it was like straight away, I'm like, that's what it's going to be. And it actually starts off with a really messed up scene involving a giant baby that's melting and trying to eat people. I'll just say that. I can tell you the name of it actually. So it's called Killtopia Phantoms.
Ooh.
And that will be hopefully a 5-part series as well. But again, like it's such early days. I've finished the script for 1. I'm working on 2. So it could be longer. It might be shorter. I'm still kind of working out the in-between bits before the ending. But yeah, I'm really happy about it. It's kind of cool to get back into the world. And I'm speaking with like artists and stuff to see who wants to get on board with it. So yeah, it might be a while yet, but just know that it's being worked on. So yeah.
Real quick for everyone that is watching, let's drop that link to the Substack. If you're watching, it's free to subscribe. It's free to also drop this on Twitter and Facebook, anywhere you can. If you have a friend who's doing any sort of writing, any sort of comic book creation, they would love this link. So give them this link, send it to them, make sure they subscribe. Once again, it's 100% free, so you have nothing to lose. Dave, what's next for you in 2023? I know we talked a little bit. Fulfillment, I mean, going through hundreds of fulfillments. Congratulations on that. Always an awesome number to hit, but I'm sure it takes a little bit of time to get through it. But outside of that, I mean, any new series that you might be working on?
Yeah, so well, my current series BPM and Ninja Baseball Spirits will continue. So next year we'll have issue 3. So issue 3 of BPM, which is my kind of beat 'em up, side-scrolling beat 'em up comic. Issue 2 of Ninja Baseball Spirits will drop next year as well. And the final issue of Bust, which is issue 5, will drop as well. That's actually my first series from 2014. It's taken this long to finish it. I won't go into why, just lots of life stuff
Is it bittersweet though, finally having it come to its conclusion, or was Killtopia the more bittersweet experience?
Oh, they both are, because I put so much time into them, like so much effort, and I've made friends through these comics, right? And to sort of close the book on them is kind of sad. I am working on a brand new series as well, which me and so there's an artist called Laura Helsby. And
I've seen you're interacting on Twitter. Yes.
we're being kind of coy about it. We're not trying to give away too much, but also kind of get people sort of slowly hyped about it. We're going to try and pitch that first and foremost. We're going to shoot for the moon and go for like big publishers with it. And if it doesn't work out, we'll go down, like the Kickstarter route or something. I can't tell you the name of it yet, but it's basically set in 1987, around the height of So you know parental advisory, right? Those stickers
Hmm.
that are on albums, right? So they started in 1985, but 1987 is when they really started to like appear, and like the controversy really kind of started on like rap and stuff like that, and heavy metal. You know, parents getting worried about satanic
Yeah.
references in metal, kind of like in Stranger Things, right? You know, Eddie, like the witch hunt kind of stuff. That was real though. That really happened. You know, like people were getting, people were burning stuff that they thought was like corrupting their kids, like horror movies, things like that. There was crimes like murder, like really dark, like stuff like murders that happened where like the kids were like, oh yeah, I watched this horror movie and this metal, I listened to this metal and it just sounded cool, and it's like
Hmm.
what. So the whole that's the kind of backdrop, but it takes place in like a midwestern town in the States, and it's about a punk band that are just like kind of trapped in this cruddy town. There's no good venues to play. They're never going to make it big, but they really want it. That's all I can tell you, because there is a big massive twist right in the last sequence that turns the
Ooh.
whole thing on its head. But it kind of came from me like being in bands back in the day. Like I mentioned before, like the stream, I love metal. I played in loads of bands before, being a vocalist, being a bassist, and I was that dumb kid once who thought we're gonna make it big one day, and we were terrible, right? So it's like it was never gonna happen. These delusions of kind of like success and stuff, but
Hmm.
and the band in the comic is terrible as well. But they think, oh, this band's are only shot at getting out of this cruddy time, but they're terrible. It's like, so that's kind of like coming to terms with kind of what you've got and being happy about who you are and where you are and what you've got in life and things like that. But there's a lot of like gig stuff in there, like setting up on stage, playing like dingy mold ridden like jam rooms and stuff like that. It's kind of gnarly, but
That was like one of the best experiences, though. I was in also one of those, crappy bands growing up, and like, I mean, I played venues and everything, but when you're in a house show and you have people like jumping off backs into the ceiling and breaking apart walls, it is such a badass experience. And you're just, even if your band sucks, you're just like, bleh, and they're just like killing each other, and you're like, yes, this is what it's about. Like, dude, and their art is so phenomenal. I cannot wait to see you two in collaboration. This is going to be going Super Saiyan for you, it feels.
I hope so, because like me and Laura are just like, we just like clicked. It was weird because we just got talking like over Twitter just about metal and punk and stuff, right? Because we have the same kind of music taste. And then I was like, thing is, I don't know where most of my ideas come from. They always come when I'm trying to sleep, I'm in the shower, or I'm on the treadmill, when my brain's supposed to be thinking of nothing else apart from running, getting clean, or sleeping. It just popped in there, and I was like, oh yeah, like a metal comic, that would be cool. I just like basically told Laura the base premise, and they were like, yeah, let's do it, let's go. But yeah, I mean, it's funny because like when I was in like bands back in the day, we actually got some pretty good support slots, but then like, and we thought, oh, this could be it. Then very quickly we realized it's not the life for us. We need jobs, we need money, we need like, it just wasn't viable. So you kind of come crashing down to earth, and that kind of happens in the comic as well. So yeah, I guess like you might see it next year. Hopefully you will. It just depends what happens with the pitching and stuff, right? But yeah, I'm just being careful not to spoil anything, so I'll shut up about it.
I make it easy. I'm very deceiving with my questions. We'll back it up though. So Dave, we have two things I like to talk about before we end the show, and that is a little bit of advice, and then what you're consuming outside of creating. So for anyone out there looking to do a Kickstarter for the first time, as someone who's ran, multiple successful ones, what would be just one piece of advice you would offer them to kind of help them get started on that journey?
Wow, I mean, I'll try not to give too many, because like I could go on about it.
Well, feel free. What we'll do is we'll link that ebook in the description too. So for anyone who is looking to check out Dave's thoughts on it, you could read the book as well. You said that was for free?
Yeah, it's on Gumroad. It's a free ebook. I'll get the link shortly, but it's basically a 2021 edition, so it's everything I've learned about crowdfunding from 2014 up to 2021. It needs to be updated though, because some things have changed in that space, But yeah, it's just literally everything from setting up your campaign, marketing it, even through to fulfillment and shipping. Most of the shipping stuff is exclusive to the UK because we have different rules here, but there's definitely things like setting good postage rates. Go to your local post office with something that's about the right weight, about the right size of what you're going to be sending out, and just say, give me the price for this thing in every conceivable country. And that will give you like a decent amount to actually charge, because I always get stung for being, undercharging for delivery, just because Killtopia takes 6 months from the Kickstarter to coming out. The price always goes up midway through that 6 months, like clockwork. And so right now I probably don't have enough money to cover it all, but we're quite savvy in that I started a business account for my Kickstarter. So everything we don't spend, I don't take. Like I never take profit from my campaigns because I know I'm going to be doing other comics anyway. So that all just goes into this big account. And if I don't have to pay my own money from my own job to pay for comics, that's fine. I'll take that as a win. So, be sensible about charging, so charge a decent amount for, the actual tier itself, work out, comfortably, like what is this worth, So Killtopia, I think for the book on its own, we charge £10 with a free print. Because it is like anywhere from like 50 to 65 pages an issue, right? It's bigger, it's, a bit bigger, but, so definitely charge sensibly for your tiers. Also charge sensibly for postage, and don't worry about people going, oh, that postage is too much, and not backing you at all. You don't want to be stung with like thousands of like unpaid shipping costs by lowballing people. That's so much worse than one or two people going, that's too expensive, I'm out. Also just promote it as soon and as advanced as possible, because I get I'm sure every Kickstarter creator gets this, where mid-campaign you'll get people getting in touch and, hey, do you want to do a link swap? You promote mine, I'll promote yours, which I always do because I used to be that guy, so I completely appreciate it. I never find it annoying. But a lot of the time they say, oh, my Kickstarter just went live today and it's not work, and it's no one's backing it, and I'm like, how much promotion have you done? And they're like, oh, not much. I'm like, well, that's kind of key. You need to let people know when it's coming, the date, have that locked in. And the other thing, like I say to people, when they're making a Kickstarter page, just copy my Killtopia template, because I have perfected that ever since my first campaign. I've moved things around, I've changed the layouts, and this is the one that I copy and paste for every single campaign I do, because it's very quick. It's the cover. What is this? Am I going to like it? What is it? Also, what is it like? I always have a section like, if you like these things, you'll also like Killtopia, Akira, Blade Runner, right? And these are things that people can latch onto, like, oh yeah, I like that thing, I'm going to keep reading. It's this little mind trick you can use, marketing again, just for something relatable that people can connect to. Yeah. But don't be dishonest, because I've backed comics before that said, oh, it's like Watchmen mixed with this, and I get the comic, I'm like, no, it's not.
Not even close.
I've been suckered here. So don't do that, or you're going to lose backers for the next issue. They won't come back. We get to the point, what is this about? Why should I get it? And then you can get into the nitty gritty stuff after that, But yeah, anyone watching who's going to run a Kickstarter, steal my templates. I don't care. I tell everyone to do it. I don't mind, because that's why I wrote the book, because I'm one of these people who's like, I've had help coming up as well, right? I've my very first comic, I didn't know what I was doing. I'd never made a comic before, and I didn't read a lot of comics either. I just was like, I can do this, whatever, cool, naively. But I met a lot of people here in Scotland who also did comics. I went to local comic cons and got some advice on scripts and how to apply for comic cons, how to do this and that, printers. So I'm very happy to answer any questions anyone has, because I was that guy asking the questions, right? It's only fair to give it back.
Yeah, it's a wealth of knowledge you just gave, and I really appreciate that. I think kind of really making sure you're not shooting yourself in the foot with shipping is huge. Go digital, if you have to, give them the digital option. But, one or two people over costing yourself thousands of dollars, that could essentially bankrupt your idea, right? That could put you so far in the hole that you can't come back from it. So planning ahead definitely seems key. David, what are you consuming outside of creating video games? I know we were just talking, we're both, after this interview, going to be jumping into this bad boy. But, I mean, video games, books, TV shows, what are you consuming?
Wow, God, a lot. I want to again purely for like ideas and stuff. Like I like to just watch and read and all that, just to, because you never know what's going to spark the next idea, right? So right now I'm big on Succession. I'm really digging the new season. I'm not ready for it to end. I'm kind of sad that it's ending, but love that. just love the writing in that and the characters and just the way people talk in it is just like so, I don't know, distinct. So I'm playing Zelda after this, of course, but I'm also playing the Final Fantasy VI remaster. The Pixel
me too, remaster. Dude. Me too. I just got to what is it? After you jump down the waterfall, you have Scion and Shadow with you, and then Shadow dips before you jump into the waterfall, and then you get is it Guy?
Yes, yeah.
You throw the dry meat and you capture them. So I just got there. Literally, it was like 4 a.m. I sent you the link to this chat, and then I ended the stream. And I always like, that's my game that I kind of unwind with because it's like such a fun game.
Oh yeah, like have you played it before? Because I don't want to.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So I'm just about to do the really bad bit on the floating island. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Where everything changes. So
I love that game because the villain actually did what they set out to do. They won. That was one of the very few games where the villain won. And it was such a mind blown when it happened. I remember the first time playing it, I was like 10 years old. I was like, what? Like, and then the roster of characters too. You could play as so many different characters. The Yeti, the one that like cross dress it, like whatever character you wanted, it'll change into them. Like, dude, so many awesome characters there too.
I just got the little what's his name? I forget his name now. The old guy with he's like he can learn other people's attacks and stuff.
Yes,
and he's got his little daughter. I totally forgot they were in the game. She's
an artist too. She'll draw, right? She's sketch. Yep.
I totally forgot they were in the game because I haven't played it since it came out on PlayStation 1. I played like the re-release on PS1.
Oh, the anthology?
Like not the anthology. Like the standalone one though. Yeah. And so I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about these guys. Like, so it kind of feels new to me again. I don't know, it's weird, but so I'm playing that. What am I reading? I'm reading. I just finished a comic called Golden Rage that came out on Image.
Okay.
Have you heard of it? It's really.
I don't think I've had the chance to check it out, but I'm pretty sure I've heard of it. It's
a really interesting premise. I won't give too much away, but basically, it exists in it's kind of like Battle Royale, which is great for me because Battle Royale also inspired Killtopia, right? When women get too old and they get to the menopause, they're considered no longer useful to society. So they all get cast away on this island where they basically converge into tribes and kill each other for survival.
That sounds so brutal.
It's really dark, but actually has this really uplifting kind of message towards the end. It's like, because I was like, where's this going? This is nuts. But yeah, I'd recommend that on Image. What else am I reading? I'm reading some books. I'm reading Bob Odenkirk's autobiography. I'm starting that this weekend.
Yeah.
Because he was in Scotland actually 2 weeks ago doing a speaker tour, talking about his career and promoting the book and stuff. And we didn't realize, me and my wife, we got free copies of it with our ticket. And we were like, oh, cool. So I'm going to start that this weekend because I love his stuff, Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad, Mr. Show, stuff like that. So, yeah. And loads of other stuff. Too many things. I'm like a pinball machine. I'm absorbing so much stuff at once.
Man, Final Fantasy 6 though, it's just like that and Final Fantasy 9. Like Final Fantasy 7 is one of my favorite games because that was the last game I played before my father passed. I got a cloud stand up right there, the action figures on the wall that cost like 100 from Japan. But like 9 and 6, just the stories in those were just so phenomenal. I heard we're supposed to get a Final Fantasy 9 remaster.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah,
that would be phenomenal. Awesome. Because that has like that steampunk vibe to it, and I think they really killed it with that.
Oh, they really like all the airships and all the
the
steam technology, big cogs and stuff, like powering the cities and stuff. It's fantastic. I've got 16 on pre-order as well, so I'm looking forward to that. I kind of like turn-based stuff, but I also am a big hack and slash guy. Like I love Bayonetta. And it was the guy apparently who directed the combat in Devil May Cry 5 did the combat in this.
Okay.
And I love that game, so I'm like, yeah, bring it on. Like, I'm well up for that.
You're on the Switch. Did you check out Xenoblade Chronicles at all?
The second one, not the third one, but the second one. Yeah, it was
second one's really good too, though. Man, we could talk video games all day long. Let me wrap it up. Because we got to dive into this still. So, guys, with that being said, it is time for us to wrap up. Check out those links. Subscribe to Dave's Substack. You have nothing to lose. Hope you all have a fantastic Friday, but most importantly, guys, keep it geekly.